Welcome to the Smarter Science of Slim, the scientifically proven program where you eat more and exercise less to burn fat and boost health.
Eat smarter, exercise smarter, live better. I am so ready for that.
Hey everyone, Jonathan Bailor back with Carrie Brown. We are living the Smarter Science of Slim and we are podcasting. Carrie, how are you doing today?
Awesome.
Woohoo!
I'm excited.
We've had a pretty epic past two podcasts and some Q&A, and I don't even think we're done because you were telling me you had some more questions.
Yes, always.
So let's
I'm always trying to find a hole in your theories, Bailor. So far, I have come up with a big fat 0.
Well, the good news is because they're not my theories. I am just the mouthpiece for the most brilliant researchers that have been doing this for 40 plus years. So if we were relying on me, we would have been off track a long time ago. So fortunately, we're not. But Carrie, before you get into your new questions, can you recap what we covered in the past two episodes? Because I think they're related.
It was awesome.
Okay, awesome. So what else?
Did you want more than that?
A little more.
It's all about quality,
okay,
not quantity.
Okay, you're fired. No, sorry, the short version is...
You can always trust me to distill anything down into 6 words.
She's a professional sound biter.
And that was actually 6 words. It's all about quality, not quantity. 6 words. There you go.
All about quality, not quality. It is. Good
See?
job.
Mm-hmm.
So, for 2 podcasts ago, what we talked about protein, fat, carbohydrate, what they do when you eat them, how they're processed differently by the body, and how that definitively proves that a calorie is not a calorie. Just fact. It's not even debatable. It's just the earth isn't flat. Like, there's no controversy there. Then the week after that, Carrie asked a great question where we mentioned fat is very easy for your body to store as fat as it is already fat. Whereas protein, for example, I'm oversimplifying, but you need to take protein and then you need to turn it into sugar and then you need to convert sugar into fat and that burns a bunch of calories. So why can we eat fat, or how do we eat fat as part of a fat burning, health boosting lifestyle? And then we explained how, again, that question is rooted in the calorie myth of when you eat 500 calories, say, and let's say you store 300 of those as body fat, that you just got 300 calories of body fat and you have to go exercise them off. That's a myth. If a healthy body stores 300 more calories worth of body fat than it needs, it will do everything in its power to help you burn those 300 calories off, either through giving you more energy or just making you move involuntarily or even metabolizing food less efficiently or just suppressing your appetite later. The body is brilliant and smart and tries to balance you out. It's called homeostasis, and it is awesome. And it is why quality is so important, because it's through the quality of our diet that we maintain our body's ability to keep us slim automatically, like it did for every generation of people that ever lived up until the last 2.
It's awesome and fascinating.
But there are questions that brings up because it is so counter to what we've been taught.
Yes.
And you have some examples of such questions, do you not?
Pringles. I'd like to know about Pringles.
Okay.
Because one of the things you said last week, or maybe the week before, it was also exciting, I can't quite remember. But one of the things you said was that when we eat food, our brain, because it's so brilliant, switches on our full indicator.
Our satiety signals.
And then we don't eat food for a while because we don't need to, and the body's trying to automatically balance out what we eat versus what we need, which is all good. Except that I've noticed that what happens when you eat Pringles is that you actually want to eat more and more and more and more and more. The whole satiety signal thing doesn't work. So talk to me about that.
So it is, Carrie, it is a very important point. I'm so happy you brought it up. So I'm getting riled up. I got to reel myself in. So I'll start with an example. We live in the state of Washington. In the state of Washington, marijuana is legal. So I'm not going to talk about something that is illegal right now. In the state of Washington, where marijuana is legal, when people smoke marijuana, they consistently find that it increases appetite. It is an appetite stimulant. This is why you will hear people, Carrie's like, where are you going with this? Don't worry, it'll make sense, Carrie. Why did you bring up marijuana?
Washington is beautiful. I should just say that while we're on the subject of Washington. The great state of Washington is a very, very beautiful place, and I love living here.
Yes, it is amazing. Anyway.
Back to the drugs.
So marijuana has substances in it which stimulate appetite. Just like there are appetite suppressants, like there are things, for example, that suppress appetite, there are appetite stimulants. What makes something an appetite suppressant or an appetite stimulant, right? It's everything in our body has to do with our brain. So folks who are familiar with the original book or the upcoming book know that your hypothalamus it's basically what in your brain is controlling whether or not you're hungry or full. So when you eat food, it is either helping your brain to send satiety signals, or it's doing nothing, or it can send signals that even make you hungrier. Now, Pringles, as you rightly identify, Carrie.
Do you even know what a Pringle is?
I ate Pringles. I ate tubes of Pringles back in the day.
I'm shocked.
I wasn't born this way, Carrie.
Jonathan Bailor ate Pringles.
It's a TMZ. Get TMZ on the phone. Huge controversy. I was actually joking. Quick aside. My brother-in-law came into town. Brandon, he's a great guy, and my wife and I. He is an endurance athlete, and he is not. He doesn't practice the same lifestyle, which is fine. To each their own. And he insisted on making a quick side stop at the local grocery store because he was going to go on a major bike ride, like 100-mile bike ride the next day, and he wanted to get bagels and other kinds of things. I'm not going to each their own. And so we're in the bakery section of the grocery store, and I'm like, Angela, we got to make sure that no one takes a picture because it's going to be like TMZ, Jonathan Bailor breaks down and goes on starch binge. Okay, where were we? Pringles. Once you pop, you can't stop. So Pringles markets that. Same thing think about light beer. Light beer is saying, look, beer, which is caloric and therefore causes your body to become full, we've invented a way to make that not happen. So you can continue to drink beer indefinitely while you eat a bunch of garbage. And yay, now the beer doesn't prevent you from eating garbage, which is sad. But that's what this beer does. Or even Jell-O. There's always room for Jell-O, right? Or you drink soda, and that soda contains 600 calories in it. But you can still eat a Big Mac. Exactly.
More. Mm-hmm.
So again, folks, it's not about calories. It's about so much more than calories because, for example, appetite suppressants are non-caloric, they're chemicals, but they act like calories would normally act in the sense that they make your brain demand fewer calories, right? The best appetite suppressant in the world is SANE food, in the sense that it causes so many satiety signals to be triggered that you will, and this, we might go on a couple tangents in this podcast, folks. This is just strap yourself in. This is going to be a wild ride. And no, we didn't smoke marijuana before this episode.
I'll have you know, I have never smoked marijuana.
I've never actually smoked any form of any substance.
Me
but
either.
Anyway, it's just never appealed to me. Not that. Anyway, tangents. Where was I going? Most appetite suppressing foods are
SANE foods.
But then what did I say after that? We've gone on too many tangents. Dang it. Okay, where were we? Rewind! Read the transcript, which probably doesn't exist yet. Okay, so we were talking about stimulating signals in the brain. When you eat calories, your body generally will demand fewer calories. Why it is not about calories. Okay, why it's not about calories. When you eat food and you get calories, that triggers satiety signals in your brain. That's all good. A lot of what we eat today is not just food, right? It's a bunch of chemicals and garbage. Look at the label of any, like a diet soda, for example. There is no calories in it, but it's got a bunch of other stuff in it. So when you think about edible products are everything in the center of your grocery store, essentially. Anything that you can't find directly in nature is an edible product.
You mean like Pringles?
Like Pringles, like Jell-O, like the beer we talked about. They may or may not have calories in them, but they certainly do have a lot of chemicals in them. And what those chemicals do, just so, again, remember, your brain doesn't care whether it's food or whether it's a pill or whether it's a liquid. Like, if an appetite stimulant goes into your mouth, it will make your brain make you want more food. Even if you take an appetite stimulant in the form of Pringles, like, it has the chemical compositions and the cues that are analogous to an appetite stimulant pharmaceutical. It's just that one is sold to you in the food aisle and we give to kids in schools, whereas the other one is highly regulated and you need a prescription for it. But they both do similar things in the brain. Take sugar, for example. Sugar has definitively been shown in clinical studies to trigger a similar response in opiate receptors in your brain. These are the receptors that, for example, heroin and morphine act on. Sugar activates those same receptor sites. So there's a reason sugar makes you feel real good. It's the same reason heroin makes you feel really good. It's an opiate. It is acting like a drug. I think of many podcasts back, Carrie, we talked about how everything you put it, like, try, if at all possible, to just say it's not like food and pills and drinks. There's not separate categories. It's if it goes in my mouth. If you put something into your body, it is going to affect your body. I don't care if it's Pringles. I don't care if it's Pop-Tarts. I don't care if it's broccoli. I don't care if it's Prozac. You put it in your body is going to do something. Some of those things stimulate appetite. Some of them reduce appetite. The more insane it is, the more it's going to drive your appetite up. The more sane it is, the more it's going to drive your appetite down. And the more it's going to help re-regulate your hormones, all because of its interaction with your brain, your satiety signals, and even, Carrie, we just recorded a bonus podcast with a brilliant researcher named Dr. Elizabeth Brondolo over at St. John's University in New York, and she was talking about why antidepressant and antipsychotic medications often result in weight gain. And part of the reason for that, part of the reason for that is studies have shown that these medications act on the satiety signals in your brain. And they just cause people to just be hungrier. And again, so an individual might overeat, but they're not overeating because they're weak, or they're not overeating because they're lazy. And the answer is not to they just need to exercise more. The answer is there is a change that has happened in their brain. And just like any human being on the planet will eat until it is no longer hungry, these individuals are eating until they're no longer hungry. It's just that those hunger signals happen too late. And that then results in weight gain.
So that the natural brain function to control things is just wonky.
Also, yes, and that's even only one side. That's the calories inside. On the calories outside, then the brain would be sending less, like we said, satiety, but also just calorically burning signals, like have higher energy levels. Oftentimes people that go on antidepressants, for example, notice that they feel like just have less energy. That's because they're burning fewer. They're running slower. So you get that 1-2 punch of the satiety signal gets broken down. So people end up eating more than they need to eat. And then their energy levels drop. So they're burning more than they would normally burn.
This is good news for anyone who's taking medication.
Yes, you are not weak or the problem. It's also good news for anyone who's overweight, because again, you are not weak. What we are sold in our grocery stores today, this is bottom line. What we're sold in our grocery stores today is a lot more like pills and pharmaceuticals designed by food manufacturers to make us take more of them than they are foods that you find directly in nature that are beautiful and healing and healthy. So like Pringles are more like pharmaceuticals, and they are. Pringles are designed in a laboratory by scientists to
disrupt your satiety button.
satiety, but not yes.
That's what I meant. It didn't come out quite
But this
right.
is why it's so, like, people are like, Jonathan, you're so passionate. How, once you have this information, like, how did Prozac came up with? They were like, oh, okay, there are these receptors in the brain, and if we create these chemicals, we can negate them or manipulate them in this way. That is what food scientists do. They say, how can we take these non-regulated substances, high fructose corn syrup, non-regulated substance, how can we take that and use it and combine it with this other stuff to make it act like a drug, aka to override your satiety signals, to change your baseline levels of satiety, and to trigger an opiate response that causes you to want more and more and more and more. And that's why I'm not going to sleep on a normal schedule until we do something about this as a society, because it is irresponsible to allow this to continue, especially to our children. Because if you went into a school and they were just handing pills out to kids,
you'd go nuts.
You'd go nuts. But it is a fact that it's not like, oh, well, pills, those are totally different than Pringles. They're not. They're not totally different. They are very much more similar than they are distinct.
Breathe, Jonathan, breathe.
So that's why Pringles say, once you pop, you can't stop. Did I answer your question?
It absolutely did.
Okay.
So the synopsis for me of these last 3 podcasts is that it's a lot more complex than the rest of the world would have us believe, and the key is quality.
And there's a brilliance in what you just said, Carrie, because yes, it is complex. And in fact, this might be so it's complex, but it's also extremely simple. So the problem, and once we're told myths, it's complicated.
By complicated, I mean there's a lot more going on
yes.
than we've been led to. We've been led to believe that it's simple. You eat more, you exercise less, you gain weight. That is not actually true, and we know that now because we understand that there's way more going on. That's what I meant by complicated.
Exactly right. And and I do not mean this in a derogatory sense, but if anyone comes to a person, one of our brilliant listeners who's listening to this podcast, is just like, it's just calories in and calories out. That's like saying, so how do you make a baby? Well, here's how you make a baby. A man and a woman have sexual intercourse. That's how you make a baby. There's a lot more that actually goes into making the baby, right? Like there's kindergarten explanations. Like, here's how you make a baby. A man and a woman have sex. How do you gain weight? Well, you gain weight when you take in more calories and your body burns off. That's true. That's absolutely true. But there's a lot, there is a system in your body that controls how many calories you take in and how many calories you burn off. And there's a bunch more going on there, and the body is brilliant. And to trivialize it and then to blame people's moral fortitude because they have been given chemical garbage that breaks their body's ability to do that which it is designed to do naturally is, dare I say, a crime against humanity. It makes me very upset.
Before we go, I do just want to reiterate, because as you know, it's very close to my heart, that for me right now, the whole medication thing is key, because there's something else going on that I have no control over. And I can do whatever to regulate my food and all that kind of stuff. But if there's anyone else, and I'm sure there's millions of people out there that are taking medication for other things, just bear in mind that that is likely doing something to your brain that is messing up all your systems that keep your body in homeostasis. And
that is why, again, this calorie myth is a crime, because there's medication. Medication and calories, no calorie conversation. Medication, sleep. If you get sleep deprived, your hormones go bonkers, even if you change nothing. Even if you eat a really high quality diet, really high quality sane diet, and you go 2 weeks getting 3 hours of sleep every night, you will gain fat. You will absolutely gain fat, because it's not primarily about calories. Telling someone that weight your long-term weight is a function of calories is like saying that your intelligence is determined by your eye color. Like, it's just, that's not what it really, the more you understand, here's actually a quick story to wind us up, to wind us down. Wind me down. Okay. So I may have told this story before on the podcast, but it's helpful. There's a woman out for a jog, and she's jogging. It's nighttime, it's dark, or it's dusk, let's say, and street lights are on. She's jogging in a park, and there is a woman sitting on a bench reading a magazine, and a woman who's jogging runs by. She stops, and she starts just searching around on the ground underneath a street light close by. And she's holding one of her eyes. So the woman on the bench looks over and says, "Oh, wait, you must have lost your contact lens. Is there anything I can do to help?" And the female jogger is like, "Oh, yes, thank you. Please come over here under the street light and help me to find it." So the woman leaves the bench, walks over about 10 feet towards the street light to the female jogger, and starts helping her look for it. And they can't find it. The woman who had left the bench 10 feet back says, "Oh, well, we can't find your contact." "Well, where did it fall out?" And the female jogger says, "Oh, back there by the bench." And the woman who was on the bench, which is again 10 feet behind them, says, "Well, why are we looking over here underneath the street light?" And the female jogger says, "Well, because the light's better over here." And of course, that makes no sense. Just because it's easier to see underneath a street light doesn't mean that's where you should be looking. Where you should be looking is where the contact actually fell out. And yes, it's easy to understand calories, and we're led to believe that it's easy to count them in and easy to count them out. And we've dispelled that in previous podcasts, and we can dispel it even more in the next podcast. But just because something is simple doesn't mean it's true, right? Saying that the sum of any two numbers is 43 is simple, but it's wrong.
Right.
And saying that weight gain is just a function of calories is easy. It's easy to measure, and it's easy to look under the street light because the light's better than it is to look 10 feet back where your contact fell out.
There's millions of people out there who know for a sure thing that calories in, calories out doesn't work because they've spent years and years eating less and exercising more and not losing weight.
And again, there's so much nuance here because it's not that calories don't exist. It's not like calories are unicorns. It's that our calories are automatically regulated by our body. So yeah, it is. You will not gain weight unless you store more calories than you burn. That's true. But the quantity of food you're eating and the quantity of exercise you get is not what most influences that equation. What most influences that equation is the quality of the food you're eating, the quality of the movement you're undertaking with your body, how much stress you have in your life, your age, and if you're taking any medications.
Sleep.
And none of those are calories. Woohoo! Done. Completed. I love it. Carrie, that was a great question. Thank you. Yay! This week and every week after, folks, remember, eat smarter, exercise smarter, and live better. We'll chat with you soon.
See ya.
Wait, don't stop listening yet.
You can get fabulous free SANE recipes over at carriebrown.com.
And don't forget your 100% free eating and exercise quick start program, as well as free, fun, daily tips delivered right into your inbox at bailorgroup.com. That's BAILOR group.com.